first part of that, the first part of being smart is knowing what to do. We're gonna have systems in place that are easier to learn. All right, complicated to the defense or offense that they're going against, or the special teams group they're going against, but easy for us to learn. Because when we can put that, when we can learn our system and we can get good at our system, then our talent can take over. Less thinking equals talent take over, but we need to have systems in place, and we will have systems in place to do so.
New Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni. Hey, guys, obviously he was nervous, very nervous. I bet he'd love to have that entire press conference back. His plan of attack for the Eagles this year. Hey, there's no one in my bedroom. Sometimes I get nervous doing this show. Brandon, Nick Sirianni's intro press conference was blank.
Woo! Jenna, bad start. Contradictory. Yep. Come on. He said he wanted to simplify things. I mean, he couldn't even simplify a simple press conference. I mean, Doug Peterson has to be somewhere just laughing, talking about, guys, y'all thought I was bad at these press conferences? Look at him.
Yes.
Man, and he wants to simplify offense and defense, cover 2, cover 8, 0. I mean, maybe he's better on the board, and maybe he's better standing in front of guys, but this is not a hot start for the Philadelphia Eagles and Carson Wentz.
Listen, Brandon, in his defense, at least a big part of being an NFL head coach isn't talking to a group of people and inspiring them. I'm going to say it was perfectly timed. Perfectly timed for a couple of reasons. One is because it was on a Friday afternoon, so for some places this is going to go under the radar, and because it was 48 hours after you had Dan the Man Campbell talking about biting kneecaps, so I feel like, at least it wasn't that. But bonus take. I never again want to hear about why Eric Bieniemy or a different minority head coach is not getting a job because they don't interview well. Because I've now seen 2 of the 7 head coaches who were hired give press conferences that indicates to me they can't possibly have interviewed great. There's no chance in the world you give a nails interview and then that's your press conference. So I don't want to hear that nonsense anymore. Right. But it's good timing. At least it was on a Friday night, Wilds.
Yeah, so I'm going to give him a pass a little bit. And I said rough draft because he actually had to freestyle this. His original draft also was about biting kneecaps. And once he saw Dan Campbell do that, he's like, well, I can't do the biting kneecaps thing. So I'm going to say rough draft. It's unfair that Campbell took all the biting kneecap stuff because that was actually Sirianni's plan.
I disagree. I don't think we'll forget. We never forgot Adam Gase's. It sort of carried with him the entire tenure at the Jets. We head to Houston now, where Deshaun Watson's requested a trade and where new head coach David Culley hopes he was only kidding. Saying, quote, the reason I'm in this position today is because I know he's going to be a Houston Texan. I don't know. Hey, Brandon, David Culley's comments are blank.
Yeah, coach is supposed to say this. He's 65 years old. There's no way he was turning down this gig. So he's going to do everything in his power, publicly and behind the scenes, to get this guy in the building. But it's not going to happen. But nothing compares to the general manager, Nick Caserio's comments. This is a problem. It's a huge problem for me. Listen to what he said here. We have zero interest in trading the player. We have a great plan, a great vision for him and for his team, for this team and his role on our team. We look forward to the opportunity to spend more time with him here this spring. First of all, there's going to be no spring for Deshaun Watson and the Texans. My issue is the player. This is the problem. You're calling him the player. On the field, it's fine. You can call him player number 4. You can call him QB number 1. You can call him whatever you want. But when there's no balls being snapped, this is a businessman. And this is his problem with this organization, is that you keep putting him in a place as a quarterback. There's times where he needs a seat at the table. Keep calling him a player, and you're going to continue to drive him out of town.
I think it's a great take, Brandon. My answer is David Culley's comments are missing a word. And I'll explain that in a moment. I want to say this on the front end. I'm rooting for David Culley. Paid his dues. Nobody has a bad word to say about him. And nobody has any idea if he's going to be a good or a bad head coach because he's never been a head coach before. So I am rooting for him. Yep. But if we're being honest here, the honest quote is, The reason I'm here is I know he's not going to be a Houston Texan. Because the reason the Texans end up hiring a 65-year-old first-time head coach is because all of the A1 candidates on their list passed because they know Deshaun Watson doesn't want to be there. So that, unfortunately for David Culley, he almost got the quote exactly right, but he's off by a word, Wilds.
Okay, so I went with check your feed. This story has been dripping through your social media feed, and it's just been manna from heaven for us sports analysts. So here's where we're at now. He has deleted all social media references to the Texans. And this follows up on reports he wanted a trade. Then Andre Johnson came out, and then he went to New York, and he made like a low-key diplomats video. Now social media's gone. Next step, Brandon, all the Texan stuff in the garbage that we see it on Instagram. Get this guy out. He doesn't want to be there.
All right, we got to head to Detroit now, where new quarterback Jared Goff said, quote, "I'm just excited to be somewhere that I know wants me and appreciates me." Wow, shots fired. Brandon, Goff's comments on being traded to the Lions are blank.
These are just comments, Jenna. It's time for this kid to stand up and show us who he really is, show himself who he really is. Look, like it or not, this guy has been to 2 Pro Bowls. This guy led his team to a Super Bowl in 2018. But every time he had a great game, every time he had a great season, Sean McVay was the one that got the credit. So now this is a huge opportunity for him to go to Detroit and show who he really is. This is a big season for him, because if it goes really well, then it's going to be like, oh, this guy can play in this league, and Sean McVay wasn't as big, played a big of a role that we thought he did in his career. But if he implodes, then this is a dude that could potentially be out of the league in the next 4 to 5 years, Nick. I don't think he has the bandwidth to become a backup. So this is a huge year for him. These are just comments. It's time for him to show us exactly who he is.
Yeah, to me, his comments are unappreciative. Listen, buddy, this team wanted you and appreciated you enough to trade up in the first round to get you, to then fire the head coach after your first year there because they blamed him for your failures, to then make you the highest paid player in NFL history temporarily. That shows a good deal of want and appreciation. You paid them back by being terrible for 2 seasons. So this idea that it's like, oh, woe is Jared Goff. He got the raw end of the deal by being in Los Angeles in that new stadium with all those weapons and with Sean McVay. Zip it. Like, that's nonsense. Right. So enjoy Detroit and Dan the Man Campbell. I'm sure they will unlock your talent that Sean McVay couldn't. I'm sure that's how that'll go.
Okay. All right, see, here, I think it's a missed opportunity, because I feel like if he had a little bit of humor, he could have gained a lot of fans. Instead he said this, you know what? I'm hungry to prove myself. I'm hungry to bring some wins to the great city of Detroit.
I know where this is going.
And I am starving. I am hungry to bite some kneecaps. Take a listen. That wouldn't work.
We're going to get up, and on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right, and on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing. All right, that's going to be the mentality.
How did Goff possibly miss out on that one? On to Aaron Rodgers now. Report came out after the Goff-Stafford deal went down that the Rams actually made a run at Aaron Rodgers first, but the Packers had no interest. Hey, Brandon, the Rams reportedly making a run at A-Rod is blank.
Aggressive. Les Snead, Sean McVay. If there's a player out there that they believe can help them win now, they're going to go after him. They're in win now mode every single year. That's their attitude. That's their mentality. I absolutely love it. And there's no bigger fish to catch than Aaron Rodgers. They went after him, and they didn't get him. And I know that they didn't go out there with just chump change. They threw everything at the Packers. So that says a lot about the Rams, but it says a lot about Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers and how they're going to move forward, because there probably isn't a better deal that you could have gotten from any other team but the Rams.
Yeah, to me, this is due diligence. This is not about the Packers so much as it's about the Rams. I'm going to report right now. Take this, Jay Glazer. I'm beating you to it. The Rams reportedly made a run, or not reportedly, the Rams made a run at Deshaun Watson. You know how I know? I just know. Logic. Common sense. They did it. They traded 2 firsts and a third for Stafford. I'm sure they called about Deshaun Watson. If they thought the door was this much ajar for Aaron Rodgers to leave, of course they call about him. And given his comments and the fact that the Packers drafted Jordan Love a year ago, that door doesn't seem to be welded shut the way it is, for example, with Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. So, of course, they make a call. The Packers then hang up the phone and say, no, Jared Goff's hands in the cold are going to shrink even more. Can't have him in Green Bay. So then they call Detroit. That's what happens. So, that's just due diligence, Wilds.
That was actually Sirianni's plan.
I disagree. I don't think we'll forget. We never forgot Adam Gase's. Is sort of carried with him the entire tenure at the Jets. We head to Houston now, where Deshaun Watson's requested a trade and where new head coach David Culley hopes he was only kidding. Saying, quote, the reason I'm in this position today is because I know he's going to be a Houston Texan. I don't know. Hey, Brandon, David Culley's comments are blank.